What's good, fam? So since we chilling right now, can we start a series called "Put That Childish Shit Down"? And that's how you gotta say it. It's all one word. It's all one piece. Put that childish shit down. You ever thought about how many childish habits you still carry over into adulthood? Have you sat down and considered some of the methods and the procedures and protocols that you have adopted as your own that are familiar to you from your childhood that you still live by in adulthood? You are an adult. You're a grown up. I am a boy, Damon. And you still operate like you did when you didn't know. Doing the same thing, expecting different results is insanity. We talked about that already, didn't we? We sure did. So let's look at some of the childish habits and some of the childish paradigms and principles that we base our life on that cause us to live in a state of tension, discontentment, dissatisfaction, unfulfillment. All right, first one I want to look at. I don't know about you, but it's one that really grinds my gears. Can we talk about how you still operate under the basis of minds? Not multiple minds. We know that there's but one mind. M-I-N-E-S. That's minds. Mine. Like the little seagulls from Finding Nemo. Just always claiming things. In a rush to possess things. Just to say it's yours. Even if it never will be. And even if it does not feel good to ignore the fact that you are calling something yours that never will be. The basis of childhood relationships was the lowly vibrating principle effective in the realm of darkness, where there is an unofficial race for who can acquire the most or appear to have acquired the most in their fleshly existence. Childhood relationships are based on possession. Possession has a negative connotation in this realm because of its perverted application. Possession, in truth, has a definition, a metaphysical definition that applies to us and can be utilized in its appropriate context. But when you take possession and you incorporate it into your illusional experience based upon your illusionary master, the ego, now you have to deal with the dysfunction that comes. We talk about people being possessed. We think of those in need of an exorcism to outcast a malignant presence that has captured an individual and is driving them from within. We talk about things being possessed. This is something that belongs to you, something that is under your control, under your authority, something that you own, something that you have your hands on. We talk about moments being possessed. This is my moment. This is my stage. This is my event. This experience includes others, but is centered around and produced by yours truly. Truthfully speaking, though, can we possess people? And if it's possible that we can possess a person, is it natural? Is it beneficial? Is it edifying? And if it's something that you can do and something that is natural to do, then I know that you're going through the process of allowing the idea to be brought before truth to see if it burns away or if it remains as real. Isn't it crazy that you be coming up with plans inside of yourself, for yourself, that you never consult with yourself about because there's another part of yourself that in that moment you ignore so that you can facilitate easily the delusional plan that you have concocted in a moment of an emotional reaction while blinded by a circumstance or a situation. You hide these plans from yourself so that you can initiate these plans without having to contend with the part of you that knows that it ain't gonna work. I'm talking about the part of you that recalls the last time you came up with a plan in your head to save yourself from yourself, thinking that it was somebody else you was running from. I'm talking about that self. Capital S, self. The self within that you have avoided, the self within that is said to be I am, the self within that is one with the mythological character that is an indication or a symbol of the one within us. Jesus, Krishna, Buddha. All of these characters are symbols of the one that lives inside of you. But you'll be avoiding connecting with that substance, connecting with that presence, because sometimes you have something in your hand that you want to carry out that even though you know it is not divinely calling you, your ego really wants you to execute it because somebody did something to you that you didn't like and you want to get them back. Or somebody's talked about you in a way that you never want to be spoke on again. So you now are driven by the dysfunction and trauma that you have misidentified yourself with. What you fear has become the very thing that haunts you and drives you to the dysfunction that is becoming familiar to you, that you will fight for years to come to undo. You're making a bigger mess of the mess you've already made, pretending that there is no mess at all. Think about your emotions. Think about it. If you genuinely were the type of person who was taking the time to take everything within to the Father, mind, thought, mind, matter. Mind comes first. Whatever is within the mind shows up and is produced within the matter world. So if you were taking the time as you interacted with the matter around you to retreat within you to the divine mind that is within all of us before you operate with confidence, thinking that you know what you're doing and what it's going to produce, if you took every single thought, every idea, every imagination into this fiery presence of love, what would happen is the imaginary illusions that have haunted you will burn away as the nothingness that they are. And the true substance and the true divine things that you are holding within you and beholding before you will remain and be the only thing left to give your attention to. There will no longer be a battle between the show that you've never wanted to watch and the show that you say you've always held as your favorite. You say you have an appetite for the show of your abundance and your peace and your prosperity, but you stay watching the shows that come with your destruction and your drama and provide you with all of the negative energy to remain bogged down and tied to the very way that you have been. Emotions burn away. Think about a time when you were angry about what you thought took place. You know that be happening a lot. You be under the impression that you think that you know what happened, and you find out later that the story was a little twisted, a little mangled. You know, it might have not even been your fault. You just blindly followed the word of somebody who you thought knew what they was talking about, and now you done found yourself mad. But upon finding out that it was misinformation and not betrayal, what happened to all of the feelings associated with your initial reaction to your misconception, to your misperception? It burns away and is converted into a new emotion that brings with it a new set of eyes, a new understanding, and a whole new inner decor. That's why you can't live by your emotions, because you change everything as your emotions change. So you have to be one who can stand still as the emotions rage like a sea, knowing that the structure that you were within, it was built for this. You don't have to rock back and forth, being tossed to and fro with the waves. The only people that live like that are the people who give all of their attention to the waves. And the waves is human reason, human logic. the dealings that pertain to these two things, human interaction. You get so caught up in the surface that you forget that below the surface is a whole world. You forget that below the chaos of the waves bashing on the surface of the ocean, deep down below is stillness. And you've been called to dive into the stillness so that when you experience the rocking of the waves, you can stand firm. So check this out. If it is true that possession relies on control, then it's accurate to establish now that people will never be your possession because people will never be under your control. Not even the ones that submit themselves to you by force or by choice. Think about it. When you were younger, your parents tried to control you, did they not? Did it work? Was it a seamless process of instructing you just once and leaving you to execute it? Or was there discipline, correction, abuse at times, as you rebelled against what someone else saw or said was best for you? As you self-evaluate, many of the concepts you wrestled with in ignorance, you have incorporated in your adulthood because you now see value in what you once did not understand. So if your own parents couldn't control you after you were conceived, then what makes you think that you could control another human being? Understand, like your mama and daddy had full control over that act where your conception began. And after that, they lost control over the entire process pertaining to you. They didn't have any say-so in what day you actually came. They didn't have any way to make you stop crying other than to get up out of the bed, drag to the kitchen, get you a bottle, fill it with formula, warm it up, and stick it in your mouth. Understand, if your parents could have controlled you, your life would have looked much different. You were not controllable when you lived amongst your parents. You have kids. You wrestle with your kids. And you see on the day-to-day as you tell them the same thing over and over again and have to constantly remind them of what you said the day before and last week, that you can't control these people. And what's crazy is you have parents, men and women, who have zero control over their children, but connect themselves to social life partners and set out to control them. Understand, that's ironic and offensive. If you can't control the very people who came out of you, you ain't got no business over here trying to put a battery in my back and strings on my shoulder. Get off me. This very fact right here indicates that there is an inner blindness that we do not talk about or constructively attack enough. The very fact that people who were not controllable as children have grown into adulthood, have children that they cannot control, but set out to control their life partners is an indication of the inner blindness that we love to deny. I like to point it out. I like to point it out for myself. And I already know how y'all rock. I already know how people think. You're saying, well, my relationships now and in adulthood, they aren't like the relationships that I had in my childhood. There's similarities, but there are things that have changed and matured and developed as I have progressed and advanced through life. And I've discovered what it is that I want from myself and what it is that I want from my partner. You know how we get. And the crazy thing is, you're still asking for the very same thing that you asked for at 8 years old when you drafted that little piece of paper that had the little check boxes on it. I did it one time, so like 4th grade. You argue, we analyze, and we look at it. It's cool. When did the childish relationship begin? The childish relationship began when there was a mutual agreement between both parties that I am yours and you are mine. We go together. Right in the words was the full contents of the agreement. Where you going? Class. We go together. What you doing? Finna go eat. We go together. First kiss. We'll go together. Whatever experience one party was experiencing, it was their duty to take their partner with them. Now, the detrimental aspect of living out your reign on autopilot is in childhood, many other potentially fatal practices are taking place inside of structures of supervision. For instance, homes come equipped with parents, schools come equipped with staff. Even though the parents and the staff have various levels of integrity, various levels of communication skills and awareness, as we progress into adulthood, many of the environments we frequent are uncontrolled. You are left up to your own judgment. The world has increased in size, and if your awareness and your wisdom doesn't expand, you'll find yourself creating a world of trouble for yourself. You are not in school anymore. There are not so many rules to keep you in line anymore. It is now your responsibility to take accountability for yourself. And the crazy thing about that is, depending on the house you came from, some of us have been dodging accountability for years. So when they're in adulthood, meets them authoritative figures who are holding them accountable, and there is no way for them to point the finger over at somebody else and say it's their fault, or they did it, or they told me I could do it this way, so you need to talk to them. No, you went in them people's store and you stole them groceries. So I get that you was trying to feed them kids and you had told so-and-so they needed to get a job last week, but we're going to put the handcuffs on your wrist and we're going to take you and book you. And you're going to have to pay the bond, and you're going to have to go to court, and you're going to have to go through the rehabilitation process with the Department of Corrections in whatever way they decide for you. This is much different than your childhood. This is much different than a trip to the dean's office. This is much different than being able to lie and sneak your way out, utilizing the crowd and the ignorance of the people who have been left in charge. Another perfect example of the difference between the childish places that we frequented and the places that we go to in adulthood and how they compare is, think about a playground. The ground beneath it is made of soft material to cushion falls. In children-tailored events, the venues, the walls are padded. Ratios are established as to how many children can be under the supervision and care of one adult. Where does that come from in adulthood? Nowhere. Which is precisely what childish adults don't like about adulthood. There are actual consequences to your actions that no one can save you from. You may have dodged accountability in school and at home, but the universe will hold you 100% accountable. No exceptions, no exemptions. Promise you that. So the concept of we go together keeps its original form, but we move it out of the childish realm where we met with it first, into the realm of illusion and consequence, where we are able to exercise our right to be delusional, unsupervised, and undisturbed. And you think about it, when them teenagers go to falling in whatever they think they in, they call it love, but we know it's not love because it be so temporary that we can't call it that. One of the first things that they seek is isolation and privacy. Isolation and privacy with a partner is a retreat into a delusional world that you and your partner get to construct based off of the lies and illusions and paradigms that you share. To be honest, this is what most people call romanticism. This is what it is to really go with someone, to follow behind them in their illusional world of dysfunction. I'm flattered that you wanted to make me a part of that, but it doesn't sound fun. I'm glad that you thought being your possession would be something that would be advantageous to me. I'm glad that you thought that you could tell me what was best for me better than I could myself. When is the childish relationship over? The childish relationship ends and is over when one or both parties has revoked the original claim that they belonged to the other person, either by expressing or by abandoning their role in the delusional act. Rather voluntary or non-voluntary, you become aware that this person who agreed to be your possession and live under your control is not really your possession and is not under your control. And this hurts. This hurts because we have an attachment to this person. An attachment is not just an innocent word. An attachment is not just a feeling associated with someone. An attachment is something or someone you have connected to your identity's description, not just to others. This is not somebody that you've attached to your presentation or your explanation of who you are. This is somebody, even when you're talking to yourself, that's a part of your identity. So if they move, if they get shaky, if they switch up on you, you are now in a crisis with yourself because you have intertangled this person erroneously into your identity. 2, desire to possess another person is extremely unnatural. This does not only disturb their natural flow of existence, their divine connection with their creator, but it also is a grave indication of a misstep in the fulfillment of my relationship with the creator and myself. Because what is it in me? What broken, hurtful, faulty paradigm am I carrying about myself that leads me to believe that there is anybody in front of me, around me, or far from me that has something or is something that can add something more to what I was created? And that ain't just for me, that's for you too. How silly are you to get it in your head that a video from somebody in Florida or a video from a millionaire in New York could add something to you and make you more capable than you were before you watched it? How dare you play with the value of yourself to the point that you are daily waking up finding models to follow as though you are not containing the way? How dare you sleep on yourself? How dare you grow envious and dark and bitter, watching other people succeed in ways that you were designed to surpass? It's not a competition, absolutely not. But the people that you've been allowing to brush you wrong, rub you wrong, whatever you say, they're doing the bare minimum. These are people that work day jobs. We're not even being disturbed and feeling by people who are calling to them the abundance from within. We are disturbed by people who are out working their fingers to the bones, miserable, broken, abandoning dreams left and right, living with nightmares night to night. And you want to be like them. You want to possess them. Listen, if you carry the desire to possess another person, you are possessed yourself by the lie that you have created for yourself and adopt it as yourself. If you want to possess somebody, you yourself are possessed by a lie told by the liar that you created and have adopted as who you are. Your relationship with your ego is destroying you. The insults and the lies that you entertain send you out to find somebody that's going to tell you something different. And in the minute that somebody feeds you on a level that you have been starving yourself, you wanna possess them. You don't want them to leave. Because if they leave, then you got to return back to standing on your own too. And you ain't never did that. But at some point you gotta grow up, or you're gonna keep making childish connections with childish people who are still in the process of maturing and standing up on their own in truth themselves. So these partnerships, these connections that you rely so much on that crumble every time aren't leading you to the one that finally works. It's supposed to be leading you to the knowledge that the system of operation that you are using doesn't work. Connecting yourself to dysfunctional, broken people in hopes that it fixes you, even if you don't notice what you're doing. You, me, we are called to be possessed by one. You are called to be possessed by your creator. I am called to be possessed by my creator. Your creator and my creator are the same. You and me are possessed by the same entity, the same being, the same deity, the same source. If you and me are connected by the same source and you and me are sustained by the same source, you and me are brothers and sisters, Goofy. You and me got the same father. You and me got the same heritage. We got the same lineage. We got the same inheritance. Understand, to a good father, you're not going to tell one child they can get something and then tell the other child that they can't have one too. There isn't favoritism. Ain't no I'm picking you because you listened to me and I'm leaving you out because after I had you, you rebelled a little bit. That's not good fathership. That's not a good parent. And how dare you sit in your house with your little Bible that's been amended 1,000 times, listening to your little YouTube pastor and think that you're a better parent than the one who created us all and sustains us all. How dare you? The crazy thing is, when you really understand how the human brain works, when you really understand how a person operates in the darkness and ignorance, and you understand that all of these beings are tremendously selfish, and everyone who does not have love within their sight, and the eye is not single, and they have not returned back to the collective presentation on the divine, understand, like, you don't want to be these people possession. It don't matter how pretty she is or how cool he is or how much money they got. You're going to suffer with the dysfunction that they know. People can only give you what they know. So if you connect to somebody who only knows their illusions, only knows their darkness, only knows their ignorance, that's what you're going to get. You're not going to lead them to truth with your words. You can go and you can be a model, you can be a witness, but understand that there is a story in the Bible of a man who married a prostitute, and that is the example that you need to follow if you're going to connect yourself to somebody who is walking in blindness and darkness. You are marrying somebody who is opposed to themselves. You are marrying somebody who's going to turn on you because they have not turned their hearts to themselves. And if you are going to do such a thing, you need to be equipped and ready to be unconditionally loving and forgiving and all of that. But y'all be coming out here talking about y'all single and y'all ready to partner with people and y'all have no interest in being forgiven. You actually telling people that it's a one and done thing, baby. Like, I don't give second chances. Don't mess this up. Don't play with me like the last one did. Well, don't incorporate his fumble in my possession. If you want to see the truth of possession on the physical plane, watch a football game, watch a basketball game. When a team has the ball, it is said to be their possession. And just as quick as they got the ball, if they don't do the right thing with it, the possession over, and it's the other team's turn. So for all of you who are delighted to be the possession of a beautiful woman or the possession of a handsome man, understand that it is not the forever presentation that come with the little infinity emoji that he or she be sending you. It's like the football game. If you mishandle this drive, you're going to lose your possession because the football was never yours in the first place.